Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Blacklogic. So, House Republicans have introduced a 99-page spending bill. And what it's geared to do is to keep federal agencies funded through September 30th this year. And this proposal seeks to increase defense spending by approximately $6 billion while reducing non-defense discretionary spending by about $13 billion altogether. Now, the bill also proposes freezing over $20 billion in IRS funding and grants the Trump administration significantly flexibility in federal spending, meaning they can pretty much do whatever they want to do with the money. But this is a reduction. Now, Speaker Mike Johnson is pushing for a vote by Tuesday, emphasizing the need to focus on President Trump's broader agenda, including tax cuts and increased military aid and immigration enforcement spending. Now, the Democrats criticized the bill for not safeguarding programs like Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, and for cutting essential services. So the Democrats is actually coming out with some democratic and liberal things, which is actually good. In America, there should always be this balance of bipartisanship, and that both sides can get what they want. Because again, America is just not comprised of just Republicans or conservative-minded people. America is just not comprised of Democratic or liberal people. But America, the reason why it's the way it is because of the balance of power. Again, but sometimes that balance of power can be uneven. It can be very unbalanced because of, legislation that is hardcore rooted within some of the things that they do in government, and it changed the very fabric of America altogether. I go back and I listen to Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton, I would say, was a decent president. And I look at some of the legislation he passed. Now, of course, Bill Clinton's also the president that passed the 1994 crime bill. And we knew who that was targeted at. And who came up with that legislation? Senator, at the time, Senator Joe Biden. But nonetheless, if we look at some of the economic legislation that Bill Clinton passed, it can be looked at as somewhat positive, but on a socialist manner that help the lesser half of America. But again, I think you need the balance of power here. I don't think it should always be Republican, always be Democrat. But the Democrats for the past couple of terms have been on some BS. And that is why they have lost the presidency. And if they don't change their stance, they will lose it once again. Now, the Senate requires at least 7 Democrats votes to pass the bill, given the Republican majority of 53 to 47. Some Senate Democrats oppose the bill, citing concerns over cost-cutting measures, while others are inclined to support it to prevent government chaos. Now, they're going to have some Democrats that come out and vote yay versus nay on this particular one. And again, we're talking about a potential government shutdown. And Donald Trump has only been in office for 8 weeks. He hasn't hit his 100 days yet. And there has been so much going on. And we're going to get on this particular, we're going to come back to this one about how tariffs are expected to hammer housing costs. Because again, one of the dreams of Americans and people who come to America, immigrants, everybody is trying to achieve the American dream. What's the American dream? House, land, cars. Now, again, those are, in some regards, there's a balance of liabilities and a balance of asset. Your house, asset, depending. Car, liability. More than a liability than an asset unless it's paid off and you're making money, and then you make a majority of money that is above the depreciation amount. And we're going to get on some economics later. Hopefully I can make it feasible for you guys to understand, because I haven't really taught finance in a while. So I want to make sure that all my ducks are in a row, so to speak. But we're going to get on how the median cost of housing, how the median cost of income. We're going to get on some economics at the end of the broadcast here, but please stay with me because I think it's going to be a wealth of knowledge that may help you guys for the American dream, okay? Because again, a lot of people are coming here to America to achieve that American dream. Here we go with Hamas. Hamas has proposed a truce with Israel lasting 5 and 10 years. They're like, listen, we don't want to keep going to war because we understand that a lot of people, innocent people, are dying aimlessly. Nonetheless, a senior U.S. official had held direct talks with Hamas and that the group is willing to agree to a truce of 5 years or more with Israel if an independent Palestinian state is established along pre-1967 borders. This proposal includes Hamas laying down its weapons and converting into a political party under these conditions. You know, if Hamas turns into a political party similar to what the Taliban has done in Afghanistan, is this a way that Western powers can target who the Hamas leaders were? Because if they become a political party, they're going to become public, because a lot of the Hamas members, the Hamas leaders, they all wear masks. You don't know their identity. But they're willing to become a political party based upon the 1967 borderlines that Israel may allow, that Palestine may allow, and they become a political party. Is this a way that they can all become assassinated and killed and murdered? I don't know. Because again, Hamas has been labeled a terrorist group. And if we make this truce, if you dial back the intrusion and occupying of Palestine and Gaza, and we adhere by the 1967 borders, we'll become a political party. Very intriguing. That's very intriguing. I don't have too much else to say about that. I just want to see how that unfolds. But I did tell you I'll give you guys an update about the plane crash, because this incident occurred near a retirement community, prompting emergency responders to act swiftly. Now, the cause of the crash is currently under investigation, and the identities of those involved have not been released. And the authorities are working diligently to determine the circumstances surrounding this unfortunate event. And this is, again, happened. I didn't have a location for you guys, but as you see, it happened in Pennsylvania. Now, here's a small clip. And I think I showed this same clip just the other day. But for you guys who have not seen it, here it is. And the internet. Nonetheless, if you guys want to see that, it's on my other broadcast from last night. So we're going to just move right along with the broadcast here. Now, we understand that the United States continue to lead the global arms trade. I know you guys are aware of that we continue to lead the global arms trade. But recently, policy moved by Trump administration may impact relationships with international buyers. Because America, we arm the world. Let's just get it very correct. Sometimes we hate the truth when we're speaking about our own country, because we've done some great things and we've done some very horrible things. And the reason why a lot of these countries that now fight against the United States of America, they're fighting us with our own weaponry. Even before President Biden at the time left over $7 billion worth of military equipment in the hands of the Taliban, America has already supplied the Taliban with hundreds of thousands of weapons. I'll give you a clue and a hint how that all, started. Bin Laden. Because don't forget, Bin Laden was an agent of our state. Bin Laden was in cahoots with America prior to the terrorist bombing of 9/11. But I digress. I don't want to get into that, because that can lead to all different sorts of rabbit holes and black holes of information. But yeah, we're the world suppliers of arms. And we have been a very dominant player in the global arms market, supplying advanced weaponry to allies worldwide. But recent policy shifts under Trump administration, including changes in foreign policy and defense strategies, have raised concerns among traditional buyers about the reliability and consistency of U.S. arms supplies. And again, a lot of these developments could potentially open the door for competitors to gain a foothold in markets historically dominated by the United States of America. Because the way Trump is going about things with the tariffs, that can hurt markets that America has been dominated for quite some time. And the thing about the way we have been supplying weapons to certain groups of people, not that we're creating or manufacturing a lot of the weapons, because we look at a lot of the weapon companies that we have in America, we have been outsourcing that for quite some time now. But I want you guys to hear this clip. Now, that's again the internet. Please play.
Big trouble.
I know.
The prospect of Washington cutting all its support to Kyiv has prompted European NATO members to step up, and it's forcing them to take a hard look at their own arsenals.
Could you take on Russia by yourselves?
Well,
You know, Trump, that was a low blow. Trump is dirty. Trump is dirty. I think the way, presidents joke, or let's just say President Trump, the way he jokes is funny, but it's not funny. Because this is the prime minister of the UK, okay? This is the prime minister of the United Kingdom. They got 4 countries under their power and who knows, hundreds of territories. But I digress. But Trump already knows that no country other than the United States of America and China can face Russia in a war and actually have a chance. The UK, you know how small the UK is? Not only do they not have the manpower or woman power, however you want to look at it, not only do they not have the manpower, but they don't have the military equipment. They don't have the ships. I'm trying to remember, family. What's the name? Aircraft carriers. They don't have the amount of aircraft carriers, the nuclear arsenal. They don't have the manpower to go against Russia like we can. So again, he's understanding a unifying nations, how Europe is unifying. That is the only way that Europe can become powerful, is they unify. And I'm not just talking about the United Kingdom. They're already unified. But those countries that surround the United Kingdom, because they just don't have the manpower. They don't have the military equipment. They don't have the technology to fight a powerhouse like Russia. But Donald Trump is just proving a point. He's like, hey, you guys can do all you want, but you guys can't go against Russia without the United States of America. He knows that eventually they will have to bring America back to the table. We are the world suppliers in arms. Of course, we do give credit for you gun enthusiasts out there. We do give Russia credit when it comes to the AK-47s or any of the Krishnikov brand. Those are really good weapons, believe it or not. They're not as accurate as a M16 or M4 carbine. They're not as accurate because, our weapons shoot 5.56 NATO rounds, where the Krishnikovs, they most likely shoot 7.62 rounds. And we've seen plenty of tests where you can take a Krishnikov, an AK, put it in the sand. I've seen it in my own eyes, real time. You put it in the sand and it's still firing. Don't do that with the M4. Your M4, in order for it not to jam, and don't use blank in your M4, even though in training we had to use blanks. Those blanks will clog up your weapon and it will start to jam, baby, jam. And I used to get in trouble at the rifle range because I'm a big jokester. I may not be funny, but I was a big jokester. And here we are with blank rounds. We're doing field exercises and war reenactment. We're doing all sorts of things, right? And we're giving blanks. And you have the little blank firing adapter at the end of your rifle. It's kind of either red or yellow, and you screw it in to show people you're not firing, but you're just making the sounds, right? And those blanks, they're the most horrible thing for your weapon because the blanks have just gunpowder and you have to put a lot of grease and gook so it doesn't jam, but it still jams. And I used to just make a joke and start singing, jam, oh, jam my gun for me, babe. I just started singing silly stuff because it was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. And a lot of you guys know what I'm talking about. Mouse gear was ridiculous, where we put on these mouse vests and we had these different apparatuses shooting lasers at each other. You couldn't see the lasers, but you'll know you got shot. That wasn't good either because the only thing you had to do was get some clear tape, some clear reflective tape that you couldn't really see, and people started shooting you and they couldn't shoot you because it would reflect the laser. So, but again, those are some tricks I never really told anybody. Like, why is he always the last person standing? Because I'm smart. And I cheated. But nonetheless, it was all good and fun. But again, I digress. I'm telling too much. I usually don't tell too much, okay? My apologies. All right. Now, the Trump administration has proposed a plan for postal workers to assist in conducting U.S. census, which has sparked a lot of discussions. Now, the proposal suggests utilizing postal workers to collect census data aiming to improve efficiency and coverage, especially in rural and hard to reach areas. Proponents argue that postal workers with their extensive knowledge of local communities are well positioned to ensure accurate data collection. However, critics express concerns about data privacy, the potential polarization of the census process, and the capacity of the USPS to take on such a significant additional responsibility amid its existing financial challenges. What? I only have a question for this. Why? Why are you having United States Postal Service to tell you the demographics of the areas that they serve? Because don't forget, every year you will have someone knocking your door from the Census Bureau, basically to see if you're a Black, white, Asian, Hispanic, or Native American. Like, they will ask you what you consider yourself, right? They may even ask you where you're from. And a lot of people don't even answer their doors. They don't even answer their doors, especially Black folk. We're like, oh, it's a Jehovah's Witness. We see somebody in what seems to be like a reflective vest, and they may even have U.S. Census Bureau, but they're there just to ask you a couple of questions to see your race, and they just move on. So now they're stating, well, United States Postal Service, they know these people. Like, again, I know some of my postal service workers. They come and deliver my mail every day. Sometimes I'm outside, or they hand it to me. I'm walking past my mailbox. They know us, right? So you start to make a rapport. But again, they're using them to report census. Why is it so important that we know where everybody is, like what race they are, where they live, what they're doing? Is this another way that America is spying on its citizens or non-citizens? Could this be a ploy to root out illegal immigrants? Again, I know people like those dots are not even on the map. They are. You have to think of a government who is very sneaky, who is very conniving, who is very intelligent, who goes about things so systematically on the surface that there's so much being done underneath and behind closed doors. But again, I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist. I'm definitely not trying to be one. But I do see things very deeply. I don't think America does a lot of the things simply because of nothing. And this is something I want to talk about when it comes to economics in America. And I'm going to use Texas as an example because everybody's moving to Texas. I live in Texas. Elon Musk lives in Texas now. Tesla has moved to Texas. You know what? Let me just, if you guys bear with me here. I just want to look at any large companies that are in Texas. So again, you guys understand how large Texas is. Let me bring this over here. If you guys don't mind, I just want to let you guys see all these large organizations and companies and corporations that are in Texas. Look at this. AT&T, ExxonMobil, Dell Technologies, American Airlines. And I'm gonna try to pick some ones that are definitely U.S. wide. 66. That's gas station. Amazon, Southwest, Apple, Capital One, D.R. Horton, Hewlett Packard, and this is just a couple. Because don't forget, I named Tesla as well. I'm just naming. Look, Charles Schwab, Chevron. What else do we have? Caterpillar and Tesla, as we stated. So again, we have we have a lot of large businesses in Texas. So now we come to economics, and what we're going to consider here, what is the middle class in Texas? So as you guys see here, in order for you to be considered the middle class in Texas, you have to make at least $50,515. So I'm just going to just say 50,000 or 51,000 rather, round up. You have to make at least $51,000 in Texas to be considered the middle class. Now, this number has risen over the years, like quite significantly. I believe in 2022, it was around 47, or 23 was around 47,000. So believe it or not, when you're not making that much money, a 3% increase or the 3% inflation of your state is very significant depending on how much you can afford and whether you want to achieve that American dream. Now, reference point, let's go back. As I stated before, I want to go back to this video so we can continue on.
Broker and host of Mansion Global on Fox Business, Katrina Campins joins me now. Katrina, great to see you. And I love real estate, so I'm so happy to talk to you about this. But what would you advise home buyers, knowing that these tariffs are out there? And in fact, on March 12th, we're looking at a 25% tariff on steel and aluminum. So what about these people out there who are just dying to build their dream home?
Well, I believe that sometimes we have to get uncomfortable to get comfortable, right? And anything worthwhile takes time. While tariffs or even the threat of them will impact the housing market in the short term, right now there's a lot of uncertainty of what actually will transpire with tariffs on a long-term basis until these negotiations play out. Tariffs are a key part of Trump's negotiation strategy to level the playing field.
Okay, I've said that many times before, but nonetheless, the key points, the key takeaways rather from here is that because of tariffs, wood, aluminum, steel is becoming a lot more. Give me 1 second here.
Fair trade, increase domestic production, create jobs, and ultimately strengthen the economy.
Tariffs is going to make housings even more expensive than they already are. Because again, and we're going to look at some of the housing prices in Texas. And the only reason why I'm picking Texas, one, I understand the grounds, I live here. Number two, a lot of people have moved to Texas. Since 2021, okay, right after the pandemic was cooling down, did you know that over 200,000 people moved to Texas? Now, some of that's because a lot of the businesses have moved to Texas, like a Tesla, and a lot of people just move with Tesla. But again, over 200,000 people moved to Texas. And they're moving to all the major cities: Austin, Houston, Dallas, San Antonio. Okay. All these very large cities in Texas are becoming ginormous because of the amount of people, which thus has raised the housing costs in Texas. Now, let me go back, because as I stated before, the middle class in Texas is $51,000. Now, Plano is a city in Collin County. Collin County is like the top 3 richest county in Texas. And for quite some time, me being a native of Washington, D.C., born and raised in Washington, D.C., I always looked at states like Texas, Arkansas, Mississippi, Iowa as very cheap to live. West Virginia, a lot of these places in the South or considered the South, very, very cheap to live. Not Texas. Texas is no longer cheap to live. Now, if you didn't get in 2020 and prior, I'm telling you right now, that 51,000, you're going to be renting in Texas. There's very, very few places in Texas where you can afford a home making $51,000, because again, the way we look at the middle class, right? When you consider yourself, I'm in the middle class, that's really no big achievement when it comes to economics in America, because stating that you're in the middle class, what part of the middle class you are, because I break them up in 3 segments. You have the low middle class, the middle class, and then the high middle class. 51,000 in Texas, depending on where you want to live. And again, most people want to live near or in a major metropolis city or big city like San Antonio, right? Like Austin, like Dallas, like Houston. Again, when we look at it, the only thing you're going to do with $50,000 in any of those cities is rent. You're not buying a home unless you just pay it for cash because you've been saving up for 20, 30 years. But we're talking about how normal people go out and get a loan. Loans, what are housing loans at the current moment? 6.5% because of inflation. I bought my home when it was 2.5%. Think about how much you're going to pay in interest, property tax, because again, Texas has some of the highest property tax in the nation. This is not me telling people not to move to Texas. That's on your own accord. You move freely around the United States as you please. But I'm just giving you some economics of how America is using Texas as we all thought was cheap at one point in time, and it was. Because I'm going to be real with you guys. When I bought my home was less than $400,000. It was less than $400,000. Ask my wife. I'm not lying. My house now is worth $850,000, but I can't move anywhere. The only place I can move is out of the country, or I have to go move in the boondocks. I have to go move in the sticks, because in order to get the house that I want, the rooms that I need, I'm gonna be paying around the same amount of money. So I won't make a profit, because everybody knows one of the American dreams is use your house as an asset, as an investment. But the way inflation, the way that the tariffs, and the way that the property tax, all these things are contributing to your bottom line, that you being in the middle class, especially the lower middle class, is only going to have you to rent in the areas where you deem pleasurable of achieving that American dream. Let me carry on. Now, Plano is in Collin County. It's one of the most prosperous counties, okay, in Texas, let alone America. As you see here, Plano has the 7th highest median household in the United States of America. Let me give you guys some reference points here. Now, in Massachusetts, the lower bounds of middle class, again, the lower bounds, they just didn't say lower middle class, but the lower bounds is around $66,000. Let me move on. Again, the same study last year, this was last year, my apologies, last year found the range to be considered middle class in Texas to be from $48,000 to $144,000. So almost a $7,000 increase of what is considered the middle class. Now, they say here the median household income in the state is $75,000. We're rounded up to $76,000, putting the Lone Star State 23rd highest of the 23 states. So we are in the upper, we're in the upper echelon of how much it costs to live in Texas. We're not in the lower 25, we're in the upper 25. So Texas is considered to be somewhat expensive for people to live. Now, as I stated before, Plano, Texas, which reside in Collin County, Texas. Let me move on, because I want to break down some things here for you guys. This is Plano, Texas. The second majority of people that live in Plano, Texas are Asians. And the majority of those Asians are Indian. And the majority of those Indian are what field that they operate mostly in? Tech. What I've been telling you guys for a very long time here on Blacklogic, that you should really try to be in tech, because when you go to Plano, there's large pockets and large communities where these communities are 80% to 90% Indians, 80 to 90% Asian. And they are literally taking over the tech field, because this is how they have been applying themselves to put themselves above other demographics, because they understand the world, that the way that the modern world, it's advancing technologically. Now, you guys can make great money doing trades, because a lot of people are not doing trades anymore. Everybody's jumping on the tech market. Okay, there's money to be made in trades. But again, I'm getting to a good point here. If you guys want to live good and great, because some people will say, oh, you so bigly black, and black this and pro-black that and black this. Listen, when people say, oh, you don't want to live amongst your own, black people just want to live where there's nice housing. Black people want to go out and buy a nice house, living in a nice neighborhood. We don't go to neighborhoods and be like, where the black people at? We don't do that. We're just like, oh, that's a really nice house. They have a nice school system. Oh, everything is adjacent. Everything is mostly 5 miles away. Unfortunately, there are some really nice black neighborhoods, but they are mostly in Harris County, Texas, which is Houston. There's a lot of black businesses there. So again, there are pockets of Texas, but again, a lot of places where you guys live is predicated upon your job, whether it be remote or it be on site where you have to go in, but it's dependent upon your job, is it not? So again, when people used to say that to other black folk, and like, no, they're just looking for a nice home. If white people live there, Asian people live there, Hispanic, we don't care. Black people don't care. We just want to live in a nice house. Because again, we know there has been some systematic barriers because of the racial barriers in America, of why certain predominantly black areas don't look as pristine as majority white area. Okay, I won't get into that. but let me continue on with this because I'm just pointing out some key things here. Plano, Texas, 22%. This is McKinney, Texas. They said the demographics here is 64% white, roughly 12% Asian. I can say roughly 12% Black American. So kind of neck and neck. Again, I'm only pointing out the four largest or four prominent cities in Collin County, okay, which is the third richest county in Texas. Here we go. This is, give me 1 second here. What county is this? I think this is Frisco, or this may be Allen, Texas. Oh, Allen, Texas. 51% white, roughly 10% Black, 21% Asian, 12% Hispanic. If you notice, the other ones didn't have a large population of Hispanic folk, okay? And then last, this is Frisco. I know you guys, you guys couldn't see the last one. Let me pop up the graphics very quickly. This was Allen, Texas. And now we're on Frisco, Texas. A lot of these counties, they're getting very popular because over the past 3 years, over 200,000 people moved to Texas, and majority of that 200,000 people moved to North Texas. Collin County is a county in North Texas. A lot of these people moved to Frisco, Allen, McKinney, Plano, Sherman. Again, there's all these little other cities in Collin County, but a lot of these people are moving here from California, New York, and they've been raising the economics in these areas. Okay, but all throughout Texas, this has been the trend because everybody seems like they're moving to Texas because at one point in time it was very cheap to live in Texas. Not anymore. It's very expensive. It's very expensive. So these little 10%, 12% populations of Black folk that live in these areas are just trying to find a nice place to live. I don't really think they're looking at demographics because I think Collin County is only 40 minutes away from Dallas. So it's considered the suburbs of Dallas, okay? And I'm building here, so stay with me. Again, I want to show you guys Rockwood County, very expensive to live. Kendall County, very expensive to live. Collin County, McKinney. Travis County, Austin. Denton County, Denton. These are the wealthiest counties in Texas. I'm just pointing out some things here for you guys. Now, in 2019, the median household for income for Black Americans in Texas was $47,000. Don't forget, this was back in 2019. Current day, middle class is considered to be around 51,000 in Texas. Let's move on. Now, in 2023, the median income for Black households in the United States was $56,000. Which is 33% lower than the median income for white household. So you're like, oh, well, there should be a lot of Black people who can move to Texas and live in the middle class. That's what you're thinking. Some of you guys that live in New York who are paying $2,500 for a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment. Some of you guys who live in the different cities in California, like San Francisco and LA, depending, right? You guys are paying $25,000, $35,000, $4,000 to live in a very, 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 very small home or an apartment, 1 or 2 bedrooms. You guys are paying these astronomical prices. So what are they doing? They have moved to Texas and they bought homes. But again, I don't think that a lot of people are not understanding that Texas is becoming very, very expensive and very overpopulated. I don't want to say overpopulated, but populated. It's only overpopulated near these major cities. No one's really moving out to East Texas. No one's really moving out to West Texas. People are moving in North Texas, Central Texas, and South Texas, all in the middle. No one's moving to East or West because there's really nothing out there. There's really nothing out there. So they're like, oh man, I have a remote job. I make $56,000, $57,000. So I can move to Texas. Let me give you some reference points. Plano, Texas, $72,000. That's how much you need to live there. That's how much you live. That's how much you need to live in Plano, Texas. So if you're making $56,000, right, and you're saying that, oh, okay, I can be part of the middle class. The middle class is not an indicator that you can afford a home. It just means that you could probably live in the most rundown, unkept place in some of these middle class neighborhoods. Again, this is lower middle class. And middle class really is, again, not an indicator of how much you can afford. Let me show you some places that you could live at, that you may not want to live at. This is Williamson County in Texas. This is one of the poorest counties in Texas, and the median income was roughly $25,000. And this kind of brings something to home. My son is trying to be a football coach, and currently he's making $25,000 a year working for the school system. But he lives with me because there's no way he can afford where I live making $25,000. And he's full time. And some of you people are like, wow. And he has a college degree, mind you. Now, in 2022, 12.1 thousand people were white, Hispanic, 2.04 thousand were white, non-Hispanic, and 17.9 thousand were Hispanic. So we can definitely say that one of the poorest counties in Texas is majority Hispanic. And no, they're not illegals. 91.5% of the residents in Williamson County are U.S. citizens. And a lot of them they served in Vietnam. And the unemployment rate is 6.4%. So there are some places in Texas that you guys can live, but I don't know how desirable that you guys want to get at. I don't know what the desire of you guys want to get at. Now, according to the reports, the median income in the United States of America individually is $40,000. If you consider the household, it's roughly around $79,000. Okay? Roughly around $79,000. What percentage of Americans make $75,000 a year? 41% earn $100,000 or more. And I told you that Black Americans roughly make $50,000 to around $55,000 a year. So let's get in some of the homes in Williamson County. This is the same county, okay? You want to see some of the different cities here of where you guys can move at in Texas and be affordable. Now, this is by the water. So again, this is already somewhat expensive, even in the poorest county in Texas at $500,000. 4 beds, 4 baths, and it's not even 2,000 square feet. Now, there's a double decker, but this house, does this look good to you guys? Now, it consider a beach home. So some people are like, oh, about this is the beach property. No, you're just trying to live here. And if you guys love the water, want to be by the water, I can see you guys living here. But just to my eye, a turquoise blue home, this doesn't look that good to me. But some people may love the water or living by the water. They don't care if they see anything. They may have a small boat. This home is very old. Look at this. This is what you're buying for $500,000. Don't look at the furniture, okay? You're going to furnish it however you furnish it. But look at the floors, fake floors, Manolean countertops. Look at the old wood cabinetry. Look at the wood panel walls. Oh, look at the appliances. Not the appliances as far as like the deep freezer or refrigerator, but look at the light fixtures. This is what you're buying. Look at the backdrop or the backsplash of the kitchen. This is what you're paying for $500,000 in the poorest county in Texas just to stay on the water. They have a fan mounted on the wall. Lord have mercy. Where's the central AC? Where's the central heat? This is what you're buying for $500,000 in Texas. That is what you're buying for $500,000. And we're not done. We're not done. This is Life for Texas, LaSarre, Texas. This is all in Williamson County. You're still, for a nicer home that's not by the water, you're still paying what? Almost $500,000. Now, if you come over here, this is a foreclosure home, okay? And some of you guys thinking, oh, I'll just go there and buy a rental home. But again, these were those people who are making that $50,000, that $51,000. That's over $10,000 for individuals in America to live somewhere where you think is possibly cheaper than where you live at now, especially people living in California, New York, especially New England area, okay? certain pockets of America, certain major cities. I'm gonna just go to Texas and buy a home. You're not gonna buy that home that you're thinking about, that dream home in Dallas, San Antonio, Austin, Houston. You're not buying homes there, and not in the suburbs. You're not buying one in Texas City, one of the suburbs of Houston. You're not buying it in Spring, Texas, or Creek, Texas, or the Woodlands that are other suburbs in Houston. You're not going to buy it in Collin County or Rockford or some of these other prominent areas that's near Dallas. You're not buying homes there. You're buying homes out there in the boonies, okay? Because these are only homes that a lot of people can afford. And look at this home. This home is $67,000. Oh, that's cheap. 3 beds, 1 bath. 3 bedroom, 1 bath, and you're only looking at 1,320 feet. Some of you guys' apartments, unless you live in New York, are the square footage of this. Is the square footage of this. And the only reason why I'm making fun, not necessarily fun or making examples of New York, I've been in New York over 100,000 times, wonderful city, a lot of great people. But again, they live in some of the smallest apartments that I've seen, and they're very expensive. They're very expensive. But a lot of people are moving to Texas, and I want you to understand because of tariffs, and I'm not just blaming Donald Trump because the inflation was already sky high before he came into office. But by a lot of these tariffs that are going to affect certain industries for the materials housing, that means housing costs is going to go up. So buying your dream home or buying your first home, or you trying to move out of your first home to your second home, may not be feasible right now. And some real estate investors are like, oh, it's always a great time to buy, depending on the deal. For you guys who are not looking into buying real estate because you're not financially positioned right, I'm just trying to give you guys some economics. You should kind of look, and this is on a low end. I'm not even going deep. I'm not even getting into the numbers, but I made this one up here. Okay, let me show you guys something very quickly. Look at this house in Raymondville, Texas. Look at this house. Has a basketball court. It doesn't look that well outside. Let's look at some of the pictures here. It doesn't look too bad inside. This is actually pretty nice. They did a really good job with the brick, the white brick that really brightens it up, makes it look larger than what it is. They tone it down with a lot of dark furniture. You know, I see a black cadenza, a brown door here, black table, black furniture. In my opinion, it looks pretty nice. It doesn't look bad at all inside, but outside it's horrific. Okay, they got some accents on the wood, on the ceiling. They got some nice ceiling fans, some wood cabinetry. Probably not my choice, but it doesn't look bad at all. It doesn't look bad. Looks really, really nice. So that's going to be the selling point is the inside. Modernized bathroom. Okay, looks somewhat updated. Nice shower. Okay, some clothing there. It doesn't look bad at all. Looks kind of roomy. Old tile in the bathroom. But all this can be renovated. But so far, so good. Doesn't look bad at all. The outside is where it at, but you have to move. Look where you live at. And some people may like this. Some people are like, oh, I love not living around all these other people and I have land. But as you can tell, they have wind farms in the background. That's how far out you live. Can I blow this up? You have wind farms in the backgrounds. Can you see that? And this is where your home, where this GPS indicated that FM means farm road. So again, it looks like you're going to have to drive almost 20 miles to the nearest grocery store. That's how far out you have to live in order to afford some of these places in Texas nowadays. Now, let me show you something. How much does this place cost? Let me show you this very quickly. This place is $325,000. Now, for a lot of you people who live in these very expensive apartments, you're like, oh, I want to move to Texas. Texas is what's happening right now. There's a lot of industry in Texas. First of all, you have to move all the way to Raymondville, Texas. You never heard of it? I never heard of it. And I live in Texas. I never heard of it. But you're going to pay roughly $2,500 for your mortgage. $2,500 for your mortgage. That's not including people picking up your trash, your sewage, your water, your electricity, your gas. We're not even talking about utilities. We're not talking about groceries, gas. I want you to think about how much you'll be paying. Again, economics. This house was built in 1975. Now you're sitting on 2.61 acres. You're like, oh man, I love the space. Again, Location, 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 location. Most people, not stating all, I know a lot of you country bumpkins love to live out there in the booty. Some of you guys don't even care if you're 20 miles away. But again, if you're driving into work, you're going to care. Unless you work remotely, you're going to have to have some of the best internet. Hopefully you got Starlink, and I'm not promoting Starlink because it's Elon Musk's product. But again, because of your location, that's probably the only thing you can get is Starlink. May not can get AT&T or Spectrum or something like that. But you get 2.61 acres for $325,000, okay, for a 3,200 square foot home, which is a really nice size. Anything over 2,000, in my opinion, is a decent size for a home. Is a decent size for a home. Let me go down. Let me show you something really, really quickly, though. Let me show you something really, really quickly so you can understand how expensive Texas has gotten. Here we are. In February, was listed at $325,000. In 2017, this house was $180,000 for 2.61 acres with a 3,200 square foot house. That is a great deal, but not the location in Raymondville, Texas, because again, there's nothing out there. And I'm only speaking very biasedly from my perspective. I'm a city guy, born and raised in DC. Suburbs is just great. It's just fine. Okay, city, living in the city, just fine, just great. I love the city feel, love the suburbs feel. When you start getting to the sticks and the boonies, can't do it. Too far. Too far. I mean, these people can go out in their yard and yell like, hoo-hoo, and nobody will ever hear them. Some people love it. I just like to be in close proximity. I don't mind driving 5 to 10 miles, but when you start getting to 15 to 20 miles to the nearest store, nah, not my cup of tea. Let me move on. I just want to show you guys this. Now, these are homes in McKinney because it was mentioned. 4 bedrooms, 3 baths, roughly 3,000 square feet, $880,000. Now, look at the square footage on this other home over here. 1,676 square foot, 3 bed, 2 baths, roughly $500,000. That is the difference between the economics in Williamson County, where nobody lives at, the poorest county, one of the poorest counties in Texas, if not the poorest, then one of the top 3 richest counties in Texas, where people want to live at because it's near Dallas. Okay, where people want to live in near Dallas, keep on. 6 bedrooms, 4.5 baths, 4,000 square feet. Okay, $875,000. And I told you, my house, last time I got a quote, it was worth $850,000. 470, look, 2,600 square feet, 4 bed, 2.5 bath. Okay, moving right along, $500,000. Okay, 2,300 square feet, 2,500 square feet, $1.1 million, 1.1, 3,300 square feet. This is in Salina. 1.1, Salina, 4,700 square feet. I'm just giving you guys, you know, the economics of these different counties of where people want to live. This is in Plano, okay? This is in Plano where a lot of Asian folk have moved to because they have a lot of the tech jobs. And a lot of these nice houses that you guys see here, they live in HOA. So we're talking about property taxes sky high, your mortgage, HOA fees, water, sewage, gas, electricity, you already know the utilities, okay? But I'm just showing you how much it costs to live in Texas nowadays. People think they're just gonna come here with these large houses where a lot of the people that you see here in Texas have been living here for quite some time and bought their homes when they were less than $400,000, like me. I can't afford these homes. These same homes that you see, 3,300 square feet. Let me show you this home very quickly. $775,000. You're like, oh, this home is gorgeous. I love the high ceilings and I love the amount of room. Yeah, you're going to love it. Well, look at the grand piano. Again, don't look at the furniture. You have to furnish it yourself. But look at some of the amenities here, the wooden floors, the white cabinetry. What are the great color contrasts? Oh, I'm going to move to Texas. These same homes, when I moved to Texas, was less than $400,000, which a lot of you people who are paying for your apartments, $2,500 to $4,500, 2 or 3, 4 bedrooms, could afford a home in Texas. And some of you guys, depending on where you live, still have to pay water and electricity in these apartments. But at a point in time in Texas, just a couple of years ago, you could afford these homes. Inflation, interest rates, property tax, and now tariffs. This home right here, if inflation doesn't come down, if tariffs don't subside, this same home is going to be worth $1 million in the next 2 years. This same home will be worth that amount of money. This is astronomical. And don't get me wrong, very nice home. And like, oh, yeah, that looks like that's worth that amount of money, but not for Texas. This is the standard of living for Texas. This is called decent living in Texas. And these homes, again, or cost less than $400,000. And again, this is a kitty cutter sort of bathroom right here, guys. Look like this is a regular plastic cutout. But nonetheless, the home is nice. This is a really nice home. Oh, it has a pool in the back? Oh, that's why it's $775,000. No. This same home was probably worth less than $400,000 a couple of years ago. I wonder how new this home is, because that will let me know as well. Can we look at this very quickly? I want to go a little bit deeper. It has a pool, has a spa. Oh, this is really nice. That was a nice home. Can we see how much it costs? Look how much you're paying per month for this house. $5,000, roughly $5,500 a month to afford this home. And look at the interest rate, as I told you guys, 6.5%. 20% down is $155,000. And that is to avoid. Now, you don't have to put 20% down, but that is going to avoid you paying PMI insurance, okay? Mortgage insurance. Okay, that's what PMI is, mortgage insurance. You have to put $155,000 down. How many of you guys have $150,000 to put down on a home to come live and move to Texas? I'm trying to find the historical record. Okay, so March 8th, it was listed at $775,000. I don't see any other sale history. Okay, but we can look at the tax history. Let's look at this. See asset value. So 2021, 489, 2020, 500, 2018. We have to come all the way to 2011. No. We have to come all the way back to 2015 to get under my $400,000. Again, depends on where you live, but a lot of these homes were roughly under $400,000. This one right here, the cheapest within the past 8 years or so was $480,000, but it is raised $200,000 plus. Here are the cheapest states to live in. Any of you guys want to live in West Virginia, Alabama, Mississippi, Arkansas, Louisiana, Indiana, and I'll stop there. There may be some people who want to live in Delaware, Oklahoma City. That's a nice area. Kentucky, Ohio. And don't get me wrong. It just depends on what type of person you are. If you're a country person, a lot of these areas, and don't forget, a lot of these quote unquote country states, as I'm labeling them, because again, there's a lot of country to Texas. They still have major cities that you guys feel comfortable in, but then you have to look at the demographics around that as well. I digress, though. Whew, man, you guys have a great and wonderful day. This is Blacklogic.